I had some time on me, and just for a peace of mind, I was going through a few write ups, and old ones, of course, written by me and by some scholars. And in course of it, I also came across a very famous old book, The Art of War, written by Sun Tzu. It was written about 2500 years ago, around 5th century BC. But today also it has relevance. It is still relevant as it stands much to the context which you face on an average every day. The question is what it is all about. The art of war, but still being used as how to approach your own personal life as well as your professional and the business arena. The most appealing line and the most appealing context and the concept which I came across while reading this book was, I read it out and I tell you, he wins who knows how to fight and when to fight. Don't you realize that this comes from your very core concept which I've been talking all through? The self. It's the self which gives you the hint, the vibes or the line as to what you need to do when you ask it as to what I need to do. The art of war is of vital importance to the life, I tell you. It is a matter of either safety. People say, I say, it's a matter of life. Either you protect yourself I'm talking about, or you ruin it by opening itself to the negative feels and vibes which keep on targeting you, approaching you all through your life when you act, interact, or you are in a social setup. As long as you're not aware of yourself, this is again, if you're aware of yourself, you will be keeping a kind of, that safety valve. Hence, I would say, this book, when I went through, made me realize that it's a subject of major discussion as a point to your self-assessment and your self-building. And it should at no account be neglected. What it calls for? Objectivity? Fine, you got to be very objective. Subjectivity comes from the self. But when you're reacting and when acting to people, you should have maintained that objectivity. The self is there, that gives you a feel and that gives you a stand. But when you're reacting, when you're acting to people in a social setup with your surrounding, you got to be very objective. At the same time, offensive. When there are attacks on yourself, not in a physical or that kind of a natural or whatever you call that kind of attack. What I am saying is, when you get vibes, start feeling that you are getting vibes which are trying to disturb yourself, you should keep a guard to it. You should be aware of the mass when you are acting. You should have also assessed and you must the economy of your fire. To what extent you can go. Because self also gives you a kind of your leverage, a kind of a field. Because to an extent where you have built yourself, you can act only till there. The self gives you the required command, and at times it surprises you even with a very kind of, that simplicity. Please, you are not aware when self is making you act in a way which you are also not aware of, and yet in a very simpler manner. And I tell you, even if you act that way, you get a very positive vibe, because it's the self which has given you that act and that way to react. It also helps you in a way, if you say, I don't, because there are a lot of definitions about this and a lot of interpretations where a lot of things have been talked about the art of war. Because this is more on a military theology. It's been written by a very old Chinese general. So more of, about the military strategy. But that strategy also matters in your life, which helps you subdue your enemy without fighting. It gets you the supreme excellence without breaking the enemy's resistance. Without fighting, I'm saying. If the mind is vibrating, working, if the self is active, the flesh has to go its way. And it results in a very positive feel, I tell you. It has combat powers. It gives you the combat power, that leadership with informations that is required, because it comes from the self. A mission to achieve, again it comes from the self. The command, which is, of course, the mind is accelerated and commanded by the self. And how you move, the movement, the maneuvering, the intelligence, and the fire which is within you, all comes from yourself.